of the Seattle Mariners Saving Seattle series. And today we have a double feature. Hello, you bought matinee tickets and you're getting two shows. Welcome to seeing both shows. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, first and foremost, it is our 5-year anniversary of playing with the Seattle Mariners. We have played in 2025, 26, 27, 28, and 29. So we're going to just look over our previous 5 years of team transactions. Would we be better off? Would we be worse off? How are we doing in comparison? And seeing where we can go forward from here. But before we get into that team transactions, we are going to go over our annual season recap just to see where we're at, how we're doing, and think about the future a little bit. So looking at it, pitching-wise, this is where we were at. I'm going to sort by WAR and show you who was good, who was bad, who was ugly, who was cute, who was whatever. Starting off, we have Paul Skeens. We traded for Paul Skeens with Pittsburgh. If you guys remember that trade, we traded Sal Alvarado, who looks like he's going to be very decent, already pushed up to AAA, but I don't think he's going to be too crazy. Just, again, a bullpen piece. Also traded Cade Horton, who ended up being regressing just a little bit with Pittsburgh, and then Coupe Amana, who also looked like he was decent for Pittsburgh, kind of got pushed back down. But you know what? I am very, very happy to have Paul Skeens instead. Paul Skeens ended up pitching 184 innings to 16% better than league average, 4.1 WAR, 3.38 ERA, 3.3 FIP, 200 plus strikeouts. Like, this is exactly the kind of guy that you want to have around leading your team. He's under contract for at least 2 more years as a player opt-out after year 3. So we may look to trade him here pretty soon, but I want to at least run 1 more year with him. Yeah. Next guy up is Jesus Luzardo. We traded for him 2 years ago from what's his name? Milwaukee, for Brent Hedrick and Kai Maramatsu. Really was a nothing trade for them, but ended up being a great pitcher for us. Really wish we could honestly bring him back, but I think he's going to be a little bit too expensive for our taste. Looking at a contract extension, he's wanting $10 million for the next 2 years. I just don't think that we can give that to a going to be 33-year-old. I think it's time to start letting our young guys start pitching. Next, Jeremiah Estrada, who pitched to his best season yet, 71 innings pitched, looked absolutely phenomenal over the last year or so, and kind of stepping into a little bit more of a setup stopper role. Really like his peripherals. FIP minus of 60, so he's, even when the ball's put in play, it's not really going anywhere. He's pitching above average index as well, so he's pitching against difficult competition at hard parts of the game. Almost 100 strikeouts, only gave up 24 walks. That's a great ratio, 25% strikeout minus walk ratio. Very few meltdowns as well, only 6 meltdowns the entire year. Absolutely love that. Griffin Jax regressed just a little bit. I believe he's under contract next year for $6 million. I think we are going to move on from him, even though he was very highly touted for us. I just don't see. Maybe we'll have to decide. $6 million seems to be a bargain for pitchers these days, so he may be back with us next year. Josh Hader also did really well for us in that middle relief role. We could push him towards a stopper role, or not stopper, a long middle relief to setup role. He looks like he's going to be great. He has a team option as well, which I think we are going to pick up. Nestor Cafe, he kind of stepped into his own this year. Went from a 7.11 ERA to a 2.76. full 1 win above replacement, 142 ERA plus, 76 FIP minus. Absolutely awesome. He was getting touched up a little bit whenever he did give hits. Yeah. Biggest disappointment of this year, Brian Wu. Went from a 2.9, 2.8 to doubling it to a 4.1. What happened? Well, he gave up 33 home runs. Home run rate went to a 1.7. Gave up 104 runs. Was starting to get touched up just a little bit. Didn't strike out a lot. Didn't walk a lot. Just really was a very average pitcher. But when you're making $18 million, you got to be better than average. So we have to have the serious conversation of, are we going to move on from Brian Wu? And I think the answer is yes, but not in the way that you think. I'll get back to that in a minute. Next guy, Devin Williams, which if it was not for signing him for $12 million for the next 3 years, we would be kind of screwed. He stepped into that closer role whenever Mason Miller went down and did all right. Over 54 innings, had an ERA plus of 170, had a FIP minus of 90, so you can't ask for much better than that. 31 shutdowns, 6 meltdowns, 3 holds, 38 saves. Absolutely electric stuff out of the back end of our bullpen. Didn't have the best strikeout to walk ratio, 2.8, but still did fairly decent. 17% strikeout minus walk percentage. So yeah, no, did absolutely all we needed him to do. Maybe a little too much walks, but when you have that electric of stuff, you're going to give up some stuff. Connolly early kind of took a step forward, I would say, but really didn't at the same time. 4.40 ERA, 124 strikeouts, 48 walks, 135 innings pitched. So not the greatest innings pitched. He really was not an innings eater. And because of that, I'm not sure we bring him back. He's only going to be making $1.2 million. So maybe being a swing man out of the back end of the bullpen might be nice for him. But yeah, he's just not a guy who I really want to bring and have in this bullpen. Alek Manoah, torn UCL. He's down. He was a revelation having in our bullpen over the last couple of years. However, with him on the cusp of making, I think, what's his arbitration eligible? $3.4 million. There's no way he's coming back. We don't know what he's going to be on the other side of it, but if he's lingering in free agency, we might go and pick him up. Blake Snell, he was, by all accounts, serviceable, but with him going down the way that he did, herniated disc, would miss 2 to 3 months, just did not need all that to happen. And again, we traded him for Bryce Miller, who really did not do that great. He already got flipped to the Dodgers or to the Angels, and is already in their AAA. So, yeah, no, I'm pretty happy that we were able to get the players that we were able to get. In fact, Justin Jarvis was up with us in Seattle and was really good for us when we needed him. After that, Justin Jarvis, speaking of Justin Jarvis, he came up, was exactly replacement level, pitched a 123 ERA plus. The FIP was a little bit high at 105. Looking at it, he just kind of ate 31 innings for us in the dog days of summer and did all right. All right, now we're going to start talking about kind of our replacement, below replacement level players, starting with Mason Miller, our closer, our dog. Has an option here for $16.04 million for this year. We are going to pick it up, but we're going to immediately try to flip Mason Miller. Why? So Johan Duran was making $31 million this year. Emmanuel Clase, I believe, was making $41 million. Mason Miller's making $16 million. So these teams want to have these big name closers. And if we look for a contract extension, he wants to make $20 million. So we are going to opt in for that $16 million deal and we're going to look to flip him at the not trade deadline, at either the winter meeting or the trade deadline. He is not a guy I want on this team going long term. He went down, felt like every other week last year. So if we look at it, 2029, tricep strain was injured. Hamstring strain 2 months later, injured. Setback in recovery, missed another week. Sprained ankle day to day. Sore back day to day. Mild hamstring day to day. Mild hamstring strain day to day. Just constantly getting injured this year. And I think it's time for us to cut bait on Mason Miller. Next guy up, Luke Sennard. He ended up being okay. Guy that we picked up on waivers, relatively okay. FIP minus was a little bit bad. ERA plus was a little bit bad. His Sierra, I think, is the main culprit of that at 533. Strikeout, a decent amount, but he would walk a decent amount. So maybe seeing a little bit of improvement in his walk rate would be nice. He's going to be a swingman guy in the bullpen. Mike Russell is a guy who we really want to work around because look at him. His stuff looks fantastic. Came up to us this year and was actually great. He only pitched 4 innings, so sure, he was negative. But when he got hit hard. But if he didn't give up hits, he was absolutely electric. Gave up 1 homer, 1 shutdown, no meltdowns. Had 3 hits against, with 1 of them being a homer. That kind of sucks. 3 strikeouts to 1 walk, but it's a small sample size. He's a guy who is going to stay up with us next year. Keegan Akin, he's already on contract to be with us for next year at $1.5 million, but I think after next year he's going to be gone. Again, he was just kind of that lefty specialist, 851 innings, a little bit below average ERA, a little bit above average FIP minus. And I think the reason that he struggled this year is he really was the only lefty that we had for majority of the year. Sure, Josh Hader pitched in 44 games, but Keegan Akin had to pitch in 72. So needed to have some more help for him in the bullpen. Patrick Forbes just kind of came up and did all right for us. I think 1 more year. I think he's going to be great as a 5th starter for us this year. He's going to have to sink or swim, so hopefully he figures it out this year. Jack Caglione, sure, he pitched 39 innings for us. We're going to move on from him because I think he puts too much of a cog into our rotation. I think he puts too much of a speed bump into our lineups, and he's got some value, so I think we're going to just move on from him, call it no harm, no foul. Dean Livingston is going to be another guy that we call up this year, and hey, it's either sink or swim for you too, bud. Still 59th overall prospect. OSA is a lot higher on him than our guy is, so maybe it's a guy that we look to trade. I don't know, but he'll be 24 next year. Hopefully he can come around and do all right. Christian Little also might be a guy who we might slot into the rotation as well. When it comes to his peripherals, he looks great. Has pitched okay over the last 2 years. Did really well in Tacoma, so it's kind of like, hey, you got to sink or swim too. And then last guy, Nick Green, low control, huge stuff. I think we give him another bullpen year, and he'll be all right. So what does that look like for our rotation? And I know usually I don't talk about what we want to do going forward, but because this is such a pivotal 5-year episode, I kind of want to go into it. So number 1, Paul Skeens is going to be our number 1 overall pitcher. I think in his 62 innings, he still needed to get a little bit of work done with us, and that's fine. Jesus Luzardo is we're not going to bring him back. I think it's time to make this team significantly younger. And in doing that, we are going to move on to a Dean Livingston, a Patrick Forbes, a Connolly Early, and there's one other guy who we're going to call up. And right now we cannot call him up because he is in the draft league. But let's go ahead and look at our prospects here. It is Lance Williams. Lance Williams will be up to start the year with us next year. In Tacoma last year, sure, he regressed a little bit, but he's already killing it. And it's time for him to sink or swim as well. So Lance Williams, welcome to the club. You're going to be our number 5 starter. So where does that put us? Also in the bullpen. So Mason Miller is going to be traded, so we're going to put him as emergency starting pitcher. Jeremiah Estrada is going to be a setup guy. Nestor Cafe could also be a setup guy. Devin Williams is going to be our closer. Griffin Jacks might also be a setup guy. Keegan Akin is going to be a specialist. Josh Hader is going to be a middle reliever. Brian Wu, we're going to look to move on from. Jesus Luzardo is going to be a free agent. Mike Russell is going to be a middle reliever. Christian Little is going to be a middle reliever. Nick Green is going to be a long reliever. Blake Snell, we're going to move on from. Luke Sennard is going to be kind of that middle reliever, long reliever. Might move on from, I don't know. Justin Jarvis is going to be a long reliever. And then Jack Caglione is going to be moved on from. So we have 5 in the rotation. We kind of have our bullpen set up. Brian Wu and Mason Miller, we're going to look to move on from. Jack Caglione, we are going to move on from. There's already been a couple of trades that I've been able to look for him, but I haven't made anything go because it's the first day of the offseason. So with that being said, let's look at Griffin Jacks and Jeremiah Estrada. So Jeremiah Estrada, we're going to execute his option. Blake Snell, we are going to void his option. Josh Hader, we are going to execute option. Devin Williams, execute option. Griffin Jacks, execute option. Mason Miller, execute option. Boom. We are done with the pitching side. Now, on to the hitting side. So we are in a weird position. We are in a retooling position, and we have a bunch of people who we know are we are going to keep, but we also have a couple people who we don't know if we're going to keep. So this is basically what I've come up with. If we look here, we're losing Christian Walker. So, well, let's talk about WAR. Julio Rodriguez absolutely had a killer year. Julio Rodriguez did the darn thing. He's increased his batting average over the last year. We know what he's going to be OBP-wise. We know what he's going to be slugging-wise. He's about to turn 29. He looks fantastic. He has been fantastic. He's only going to make $18 million over these next few years, and we're going to keep him for the entirety of his contract. Julio Rodriguez has been great. OPS plus of 129, WRC plus of 123, had 28 home runs, had 92 RBIs, scored 103 times, struck out 168 times. So that's a little bit of a red flag for me, but ultimately did great. Corbin Carroll is a guy who is on the fringe because he is going to be making $28 million, which I believe it's $14 million truly. I don't know if he wants a contract extension. Yeah, he does want a contract extension, but I don't think we're going to be the ones to give it to him. Last year, he kind of finally put it together. If you look over years past, came from Arizona, struggled, moved to us, did all right. And now finally having a full year under his belt, did great. It just sucks that he got hurt when he did. Going to be making $14 million. So if we wanted to get rid of him, $14.3 million, we could clear up some space for some cap. However, I think he played so good last year that to give up 5 WAR for $14 million, that would be a very, 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 very dumb decision. So in fact, we are going to move him into this position. Next, Cal Riley, big dumper. Kind of been holding it down for us, in all honesty. His OBP did dip this year by 30 points. His average dipped by a little bit. His slugging dipped by a little bit. His home run prowess dipped by a little bit. but he's still an above average defender. And again, if we are getting $8 million per war spent, which means $24 million for 4 war, he was a value added player. So last year, he was a value added player. He struggled at the same time that everyone else did. And again, he's only playing 3/4 of the games, so can't really fault him. Next guy up, well, let's talk a little bit more. 165 strikeouts, 42 walks, so looks like probably the walks dipped a little bit. 28 home runs, absolutely awesome. Needed him to do that, you know? Joey Ortiz, kind of a big deal around here. He's going to be making $16 million over the next 2 years. Doesn't want to talk about extensions, but really has been kind of a bread and butter piece for us at shortstop. So having Cal Riley, Julio Rodriguez, and Joey Ortiz all be on the same team has been phenomenal for us. We've been really able to make it work for those three. And then Corbin Carroll's just been a plus. But yeah, Joey Ortiz last year, 246, 316, 375. Maybe not the pace that we wanted him to be at. Definitely wish that he was at last year's 262, 338, 402. But I think everyone on our team this year regressed with the bat, and I think we should see a bit of an improvement next year. Still was able to hit 9 home runs, which he's not a home run hitter, so we'll take that. Ultimately, yeah, he's a guy who we want to keep around long term, and he looks great. Next guy, Brent Rooker. Absolutely huge year for him. Next year, he's going to be making $22 million. He's going to want to make $26 million over the long term, but I think this is going to be his one and done last year with us. If we're losing a lot at the trade deadline, he's going to be a rental piece to give out. If we're not losing a lot, he's going to be a guy who we move on from after this year and get an extra draft pick for. Ultimately, was a great guy for us to have last year. 35 home runs, 110 RBIs. A lot of our offense went through Brent Rooker, and I want it to go through him again this year. Jose Ramirez is probably the biggest deal to figure out. So we look at his batting stats. So last year, he was league average bat. The previous however many years, he was absolutely astounding. 5 WAR, 134 OPS plus. If we look at his batting splits, in August and July, he did fantastic. That was more of what we expected from him. Hey, batting 200 plus or 250 plus, absolutely putting it on people. So, that being said, I think we are going to opt into one more year of Jose Ramirez. We're going to run it back with this team. Why? I think we're in a position that we can. I really think that we are in a position that we can. So, Jose Ramirez is going to be back on the team again next year. Sorry, I have a lot of notes here. Yeah, okay. That's what I wanted to look at. So yeah, Jose Ramirez is going to be back next year. Cole Young, brother, you have to figure it out. You have been so good for us, but so bad for us. So his rookie year just absolutely kind of killed it he killed it in 2027 and now has regressed in the last 2 years. Versus right-handed batters, he's league average. Versus left-handed batters, he's anemic. So Cole Young is honestly on the chopping block. He's a guy who we want to keep around. We have him at $16 million for the next couple of years, and he's supposed to be good, but he's never put it together against opposite-handed pitching. But these ratings suggest that he should. So we're going to roll with him one more year, but he might be done. Overall, OPS and WRC plus in the 80s, not good enough. On base percentage 321, fine, but you better be slugging around 400. OPS of 630, that needs to be in at least the mid 70s, mid 700s. Average of 233, no, not good. ISO of 0.08, not good. RBIs and runs accounted for a little bit over 100. That's not good. 57 walks or 59 walks to 87 strikeouts is decent. I will give you your flowers there. But if you're only going to hit 6 home runs, if you're only going to have a total of what? 6, 26, 27 extra base hits, you're going to have to do something else. And this in 100 and something games, guy, like, you have the gap power. You have the BABIP. You're not going to strike out. You're going to take your walks. Like, what's going on? So, hopefully he can put it together this year. That's the last I'm going to talk about it. That's the last we're going to talk about Cole Young. He's 26. This is his sink or swim year. Jack Caglione, I already touched on. We are going to trade him. His OBP of 279 is terrible, but his slugging of 493 is awesome. Had 26 home runs for us. That is great. 69 RBIs, nice. But how many strikeouts? 125 strikeouts. 125 strikeouts and 350 plate appearances is insane. Like, absolutely insane. Chandler Simpson had a half a year just because he was hurt, but in that half a year time, came up, did awesome. OBP of 316 when you're a table setter is exactly what we want to see. I don't care about OPS plus and WRC plus as much with him because all he needs to do is get on base and steal the next one. He stole 41 bases and was only caught stealing 7 times in this few games is absolutely amazing. Still 1.2 WAR. Next year, he's going to be making $5 million. Yeah, no. We are fine to run out Chandler Simpson. It is going to be fine. Rich Hernandez was kind of a interesting guy. So he can play catcher, really decent outfielder, making the league minimum. He's 30 years old. This might be a guy that we try to package and get away from just because there's no room for him. But OPS plus and WRC plus, 20% better than average. Slugged 460, OPS of 784. Absolutely awesome in his limited stint, but I just don't see us having the time to put into him. Brennan Malone was absolutely great when we called him up. Just didn't really have a lot of time to put it together. Claimed him from waivers. He was great in the playoffs. So this is another guy who we want to go ahead and try to run out every single day. Christian Walker was Christian Walker. He kind of did terrible. Should not have played him as much as we did, but we did. Whatever. Patrick Forbes, not really a hitter. I'm going to stop letting him hit. Yeah, if we look at his ratings, yeah, he's not a hitter. Let's let him focus on pitching. Lisandro Espinoza, just a defensive utility guy. I think we're going to let him walk after this year. Easton Carmichael, brother, you got to put it together if you're going to take it over from whatchamacallit, because in your limited playing time, you've been terrible. And then we have Nick Lofton, who we got to supplement what's-his-face, Jose Ramirez being out. He did okay, but he's not a guy that we're going to keep around long term. And then Trey Morgan did terrible for us. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But he did so good in playoffs that we're going to just give him another crack at it. So looking at it going into this year, we have Cal Riley and Easton Carmichael being the two catchers on our team. Trey Morgan and Brennan Malone are going to be the first base DH left field platoon, as well as Brent Rooker. Chandler Simpson is going to be that fourth outfielder. Rich Hernandez is going to be a guy who we potentially trade away from. We're going to run out Corbin Carroll, Julio Rodriguez, Jose Ramirez again, Joey Ortiz, Cole Young. We're just running it back. But we're going to try and see if we can get better in the aggregate by getting rid of our few players that we talked about. Guys that we have waiting in the wings, we really don't have a lot of people waiting in the wings. If we look at, like, we have John Garden, who looks to be really the real deal. If we can get him up soon, that'd be great. But other than that, we just kind of have Jared Herzog down in single A. Roberto Caballero looks to be very decent as a shortstop. So if we can get him up as soon as possible, that'd be awesome. So we have Jose Bonilla looks like he is going to be also the real deal. So if we can get Jose Bonilla and Roberto Caraballo up at the same time, that is going to be awesome. But now let's look at kind of our decision history of what we've done over the last 5 years and see if we're better off, worse off, or exactly where we deserve to be. So, I think it's here. Yep. So, over the last couple of years, if you look, we have a positive record. We've won 452 games to losing only 358. Always had decent pitching teams, struggled offensively, 5 times qualified, but we've lost in the divisional series for the last 3 years. So once we get past the divisional series, we win the World Series. Looking at some of the achievements, Devin Williams has been one of our best pickups. Just going to scroll through here, just showing you guys, hey, we've done a lot for stuff here. But decision history, this is the big portion that I want to go over. So we have a lot of players that we have traded for and have traded away. You guys know me. I like making lots of trades. But here is apparently been my biggest loss. So number one, my biggest loss here was trading for Vinny Pasquantino, Cole Reagans, and trading away Jock Peterson, Jace Young, and Kendall Maziah. Jace Young has turned into an everyday first baseman. He just was not doing it in Seattle over the last 3 years. 2.1 WAR, regressed back, and then had 3.4 WAR. Again, Jace, happy for you, bud, but never were putting it together for us. So after that 2026 season, getting him the playing time that he needed to get him to this year, happy to see that he's doing well. Also, Jock Peterson, I believe that was a pure rental for him, and he has been terrible ever since, so not upset about that. Next, we traded Rafael Devers. We got 7.1 WAR back. We traded away Estuary Ruiz, Zach McKinstry, George Kirby, who, if we look at his stats, they re-signed him. So I don't call this exactly fair because we would not have signed him to this contract. But looking at it, that next year he was terrible. We're like, okay, we kind of won out here. And then over the last 3 years, he has been one of, if not the best pitcher in baseball. Just absolutely great. Love to see that he's doing well, but would have loved to see him long-term with us be able to pitch at that rate. Whatever. Ryan Bliss, Zach McKinstry, and Johnny Farmello were kind of throw-ins for it. But us getting 7 WAR from Rafael Devers is still very nice because he immediately came in and helped us in the next year. Next thing, we traded Cade Horton and Nico Horner for Stephen Kolek, who Stephen Kolek did terrible for us. And of course, as soon as we flip him over to what's their faces, he turns around and starts doing absolutely incredible. He's signed to a really decent deal. I don't know if we signed him to it, but it looks like no. Cubs signed him to it. So Stephen Kolek, congrats, bud. You made out like a bandit. Next, we traded for Spencer Schwellenbach and Marcelo Perez, Franklin Arias, and Josh Kasevich. Josh Kasevich is retired. Franklin Arias is in the draft league or somewhere. I don't know. Marcelo Perez and Spencer Schwellenbach are also there, but traded straight up for Logan Gilbert, and Logan Gilbert has also been phenomenal, which is weird because looking at his pitching stats. He was a 3-WAR player with us. I didn't like the way his peripherals were looking, and it looks like he's going to start regressing here very soon. So maybe they made out like bandits on this one, but I'm not going to hold it in too high regards. Those are going to be just the top 5. Let's just look at only the top 5. Next trade that we made was for Jesus Luzardo. This was just a huge win for us, getting 2.5 WAR and giving up absolutely nothing in return. Brent Hedrick is already back with us. He was released, and then we signed him on a minor league free agent deal. And then this guy's still over there, but he's 34 years old. He's not going to do well. Yeah, we won that trade by a long shot. Next trade, we traded for Brent Rooker. We traded away Cole Reagans, who put up 0 WAR this last year. Joey Volchko, who looks like he's going to be great, but it's when is he going to be great? Yeah, he is no longer with that organization. He is now with, wow, okay, so we will not be getting, wow. Yeah, no, we won this trade as well. Huge. Next trade, we traded for Mitch Keller. We traded Will Klein, who's retired. Ben Williamson, who we traded away. We traded them, Ben Williamson. Ben Williamson looks very decent, but yeah, he has not been very good. And then Troy Taylor, who's no longer with them. And we got Mitch Keller, who was great for a couple of seasons for us. Next guy that we traded for was Corbin Carroll. We traded away Wade Shelley, $1 million in cash, Lars Nootbaar, who I believe is a free agent at this year's end, and a guy who's already retired for Corbin Carroll, retaining 50%, and who was phenomenal for us last year. And by far and away, our biggest trade was we were able to get rid of Victor Robles, who's been bouncing around like crazy. Jeter Martinez, who looks like he's finally made it up to the club after so many years. Doesn't look like he's going to be much from our accounts of standard. Soren Lau, retired. Michael Morales is with Baltimore, and Teddy McGraw, who's already retired. So Jeter Martinez is the only way that this is going to be changed in any way, shape, or form. Estuary Ruiz, we already flipped. Seth Brown's retired, and Mason Miller has been phenomenal for us, but we will be trading him away. Looking at the aggregate, we've lost Harry Ford. We traded away a lot of these really high-end guys. But we've also brought in Yordan Alvarez, who was awesome for a while for us. We lost him in free agency. Now he's making $36 million. Kyle Tucker, we signed him in free agency to a large contract, but he's been kind of terrible over these last couple of years. We traded him after he gave us 2.8 WAR, and then 1.7, 2.2, 2.3. Yeah, I'm fine getting rid of that trade. Corbin Carroll's still on the team with us and will be for the time being. Same with Mason Miller. Zach Gallen was great for us when we had him temporarily. Joey Ortiz looks like he's going to be a decent guy for us. Jeremiah Estrada's been great. Brent Rooker's been great. But we haven't really made a large acquisition, and we've made a lot of losses. So that's why I'm going to start letting our young guys play. It's time to start letting them do the darn job, because look at how many guys retiring. Look at how many guys we're losing. Look at how many guys are, look at how many guys we've lost out on the aggregate of. Like, losing George Kirby, tough. Losing Stephen Kolek, tough. Losing Harry Ford. Harry Ford would be huge for us right now. If we look back at that trade, we traded all of these players to get Yordan Alvarez, which in the aggregate was awesome. Yordan did an awesome job for us, but now I wish we had Harry Ford, because he put up a 2.2, a 4.8, and a 5.0 season. Granted, he was blocked by Cal Riley. Yeah. Anyways, Manager history. Let's look at some of our big deals here. So, looking at our history, we've been with the club for 5 years. We've made playoffs every single year over the last 5 years. Our goal now, it's going to seem a little bit far-fetched. I want to try and even up this record as much as possible. We're 4,053, 4,306. Yeah, that kind of sucks, but my goal is over the next 5 years to continue to see if we can get within 100 of this and be really good for the next 5 years. Overall, if we look at all of our seasons, 90-72, 91-71, 96-66, 92-70, and then this year was the only year I would say was less than good. And because of that, I think we're in a place that we really need to be adamant about our next 5 years, letting ourselves shed some salary and stay in a position where we can win. I think we have the player development to do it. I think we have a couple of players waiting in the wings, and we just got to let them try. So with all that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Thank you so much for watching.